Hello students, I am Dr. Nipun Kalia, Associate Professor, Department of English from University Institute of Liberal Arts and Humanities, Chandigarh University. Today we are going to talk about literature, or rather, what is literature? Before I give you the answer or elucidate on this topic, I want you to have a look at this and take a moment to think and ponder of all these pictures that I have collected here. Out of all these, which works would you consider as literature? There is Mona Lisa, the world-famous masterpiece, a painting by Leonardo da Vinci, or Michelangelo's renowned sculpture, David. Would you consider that literature? J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, is that literature? What about Harry Potter the film? Odissi, the ancient Indian classical dance, can that be considered as literature? Or that just William Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice is the only piece of literature among all of these? What about Sanjay Leela Bhansali's Golyon Ki Ras Leela Ram Leela and Baz Luhrmann's cinematic adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, or magazines like Cosmopolitan, Vogue, or Elle? Are these literature too? What if I say that all these are forms of literature? Yes, all of these. Surprised? Well, you shouldn't be. Literature broadly refers to any collection of written or oral work, but it more commonly and narrowly refers to writings, specially considered to be an art form, especially prose fiction, drama, and poetry. Simply put, literature represents the culture, tradition of a language or a people. The concept is difficult to precisely define. Though many have tried, it's clear that the accepted definition of literature is constantly changing and evolving. For many, the word literature suggests a higher art form. Merely putting words on a page doesn't necessarily equate to creating literature. A canon is the accepted body of works for a given author. Some works of literature are considered canonical, that is, culturally representative of a particular genre, poetry, prose, or drama. Literary means not only what is written, but what is voiced, what is expressed, what is invented, in whatever form. In which case, maps, sermons, comic strips, cartoons, speeches, photographs, movies, war memorials, and music all huddle beneath the literary umbrella. Books continue to matter, of course, but not in the way that earlier generations took for granted. Definitions of literature change because they describe and clarify a reality. They do not create the reality they describe. That is interesting. Does it really matter what literature is? Does everyone have to agree? Because there is no hard and fast definition of literature. Perhaps it is more beneficial to seek an analysis instead. What purpose does literature serve? What distinguishes literature from non-literary works? What makes us treat something as literature? How do we know when something is literature? Would it be easier to ask what is not literature? Well, literature is something that reflects society, makes us think about ourselves, and our society allows us to enjoy language and beauty. It can be didactic, and it reflects on the human condition. It both reflects ideology and changes in ideology, just like it follows generic conventions as well as changing them. Literature is the creation of another world, a world that we can only see through reading literature. Marcel Proust, the famous French novelist and critic, said, "In reality, every reader is, while he is reading, the reader of his own self." The writer's work is merely a kind of optical instrument which he offers to the reader to enable him to discern what, without this book, he would perhaps never have experienced in himself. And the recognition by the reader in his own self of what the book says is the proof of its veracity. Interesting. What is literature? Why is literature important? Works of literature at their best provide a kind of blueprint of human society. From the writings of ancient civilizations such as Egypt and China to Greek philosophy and poetry, from the epics of Homer to the plays of William Shakespeare, from Jane Austen and Charlotte Bronte to Maya Angelou, works of literature give you an insight into and context to all the world's societies. In this way, literature is more than just a historical or cultural artifact. It can serve as an introduction to a new world of experience. Why do we study literature? We study literature because it is an extremely important part of our culture and society. Literary studies is an all-inclusive term for systematic study of literary texts. Literary studies add to our knowledge of literature. It includes literary criticism, literary history, and comparative literary studies. Do we need literature? In fact, we need more literature and not less. I'll give you some reasons for why it is pertinent for us to be connected and involved with literature. Imagination. Reading literature cultivates the imagination. That's one reason why tyrants and dictators hate literature, banning or strictly controlling it. Literature and art is considered dangerous. Probably that's why the books are banned, paintings are torn, and sculptures are demolished. Because literature and art cultivates thinking, and a thinking mind is usually considered a threat by tyrants and dictators, and by those who are not democratic or those who do not believe in democratic ideals. From the ancient Greeks to the present day, cultures steeped in literary study have thrived on creativity and innovation. The next is analysis. In addition to cultivating the imagination, literature sharpens the analytical abilities. Literary works, whether fiction, poetry, drama, creative non-fiction, challenge readers to make connections, to weigh evidence, to question, to notice details, to make sense out of a rich experience. These analytical abilities are fundamental life skills. You not only question the reality, but literature makes you better equipped to face the reality, understand the subtext, evaluate the undercurrents, and to be able to connect the dots. The third is empathy, because literature allows us to acquire different perspectives. What is like to be a teenage girl, a Jew in Nazi Germany? How would you feel if you thought your father had been murdered but no one else believed that? In different times and places, we learn to think about how other people see the world. Literature lets you put yourself in another's shoes. It provides the opportunity to live 100 lives, experience 100 situations, feel 100 emotions, and to become empathetic towards people and the world around you. We can understand, persuade, accept, and help these others more effectively and fully. With empathy comes the understanding. We think in terms of stories. This happens and then that happens, and what's the connection between these events and what is going to happen next. People who have experienced more stories are able to think better about actions and consequences. Experience is the best teacher, and literature is the best vehicle for vastly enlarging our possible experiences. Literature helps us to understand life more closely, and in turn we are better equipped to handle the situations and people in our world and lives. Literature also provides solace. Some scan literature for knowledge, while others read for a cure. A few bibliomaniacs look for inferring the world of others, and some look for therapy to find solace in literature. Reading is the best activity to indulge in when you want to calm your stress level. Take a book and plunge into its pages. The story will make you out of your mental abyss, and within minutes you will forget whatever it was that made it you happy. You may choose a book around your favorite subject, like autobiography, or maybe on your favorite character. After this comes agility. Literary works often ask us to think in complex ways, to hold sometimes contradictory or apparently conflicting ideas in our minds. As brain imaging has shown, this kind of processing helps us to be more mentally flexible and agile, open to new ideas, and be more tolerant to an opposing viewpoint. Meaningfulness. Literary works often challenge us to think about our place in the world, about the significance of what we are trying to do. Literary studies encourages an examined life, a richer life. It provides us with an almost unlimited number of test cases, allowing us to think about the motivations and values of various characters and their interactions. Travel. Well, who doesn't like to travel? Traveling could be an expensive proposition at times, but literature allows us to visit places and times and encounter cultures that we would otherwise never experience. One can travel vicariously through books. We can get our fix of travel and road trips and new places from the comfort of our sofas, air-conditioned libraries, office desks. Books can offer many options for all sorts of trips. Wonderful, isn't it? And lastly, literature provides inspiration. Writers use words in ways that move us. Readers throughout the ages have found reasons to live and ways to live in literature. Despite the definitions given above, I feel that literature is beyond these definitions. It is more than what we see and perceive. Its boundaries cross our lives and traditions, culture, social relations, national unity, and a lot more. It serves as a reflection of reality, a product of art, and a window to an ideology. Everything that happens within a society can be written, recorded in, and learned from the piece of literature. Whether it is poetry or prose, literature provides insight, knowledge, or wisdom and emotion towards the person who partakes it entirely. Our life is manifested in the form of literature. It is an embodiment of words based on human tragedies, desires, and feelings. It cultivates wonders, inspires a generation, and feeds in information. Even though it is dynamic, endless, multidimensional, literature contributes significant purpose to the world we live in. The world today is ever-changing. Never before has life been so chaotic and challenging for all. Life before literature was practical and predictable, but in present day, literature has expanded into countless libraries and into minds of many as the gateway for comprehension and curiosity of the human mind and the world around them. Literature is of great importance and is studied upon as it provides the ability to connect human relations and define what is right and what is wrong. Literature is the foundation of life. It places an emphasis on many topics from human tragedies to tales of ever-popular search for love. While it is physically written in words, these words come alive in the imagination of the mind and its ability to comprehend the complexity or simplicity of the text. Literature enables the people to see through the lenses of others and sometimes even inanimate objects. Therefore, it becomes a looking glass into the world as others view. It is a journey that is inscribed in pages and powered by the imagination of the reader. Ultimately, literature has provided a gateway to teach the reader about life experiences from even the saddest stories to the most joyful ones that will touch their hearts. Thank you so much.